So we're here today at the Mankweng Hospital Breast Milk Bank. This is the first breast milk bank that the Department of Health in Limpopo launched in 2016 with the South African Breastmilk Reserve. And I have with me Daddy Matthews. He is the Deputy Director for Nutrition for the Provincial Department of Health of Limpopo. But I know him to be a convinced and adamant breastfeeding activist in favor of breastfeeding for all children. And so today we want to have a chat with Daddy about the value that human milk banking brings, not only to the hospital environment and the community, but also to the communities at large, countrywide. Welcome, Daddy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And tell us a little bit more about what is the stance of the province and the health system on the importance of breast milk banking for neonates, but breastfeeding for full-term babies as well.
Well, firstly, what I would like to say is we are pro-breastfeeding in this province, in the province of Limpopo, and we support, we protect, and we would like to make it a point that all mothers within the province understand how important it is for them to breastfeed their children from age 0 up until they are 24 months old. And we try our best to make it a point that all of our mothers that visit our health facilities understand how important it is for them to feed their infants or feed their children breast milk. Now, the introduction of the breast milk bank in the province has significantly assisted us to make it a point that all of our facilities are gearing up towards having to have and to understand the importance of breastfeeding. So, to us as a province, the value of breast milk banks in our province is going to really assist us to further encourage mothers who are also within the communities, who are in our communities, to further understand the importance of breastfeeding, for them to also make it a point that they encourage other mothers and support other mothers, support also the household members within the community, for them to understand the importance of breastfeeding. So the introduction of breast milk banks in our province will assist us to also reduce the infant mortality in the province. It will also assist us to reduce our neonatal deaths in the province, and it will make it a point that our budget that was supposed to be used for breast milk substitute, it's no longer going to be used for that, but it's further used for other things within the province, because we will be breastfeeding, we will be using the milk that has been donated by mothers within communities, mothers within households, to come and feed babies that are within our communities. And again, economically, remember that these babies will be fed breast milk and they will grow to be better understanding human beings, and education-wise they will be performing very well at school, and ultimately the country will be doing well economically. We'll have people who are going back to school, who finish their matric, go back to university, and come back and plow back within their own communities, therefore making sure that our economy grows and goes further and further.
Sure. And just tell us a little bit also for the listeners to understand what the value, the life-saving value that breast milk brings compared to formula, and the risks that are associated often with formula feeding in communities.
We all know that breast milk is one of the best milk that we can ever give to our babies. If you look at breast milk will help the babies to grow very well, get all the nutrients. They are fed breast milk at the right temperature. The breast milk will give them all the nutrients that they need. They will also, it will also help them to line up and line the inside of their alimentary canal and their stomachs also, and therefore that will help them not to have, problems with their gastrointestinal problems.
Yes.
And they will be growing up to be better and
healthier.
Healthier and evade a lot of diseases.
Yes.
Because they'll be getting a lot of nutrients.
Because it's the first vaccine, right?
Of
course, it's the first vaccine. I mean, the breast milk, it is also a way out of poverty for our communities, because a lot of communities, and I think a lot of our listeners that are following the development sector in South Africa realize that access to water and sanitation is not equal for all, and it's something we're working on.
Yes.
But in the context, for instance, of a drought, or we don't have access to regular water, breastfeeding saves lives.
Of course, our province is a rural area.
Yes.
We don't normally have enough water coming through to our households.
Yes.
And therefore, preparation of breast milk substitute will really cost mothers quite a lot. And they'll have to make fire. They'll have to go fetch water. Therefore, the household chores will not be done. Taking care of the babies will not also take as they should be doing. So that will cost them quite a lot compared to just taking out their breast and giving it
Putting
to
the baby on the
without
breast.
any. So it will be very free compared to going to retailers and buying breast milk substitute. Preparation of breast milk substitute costs them because they need energy, they need water, they need fire, they need electricity. That will really cost them a lot compared to breastfeeding.
Absolutely. And I think we also need to remember that during the COVID era, we have seen that there has been an impact on breastfeeding. We saw this nationally. We see that Limpopo is a very well breastfed province. But we have seen on the territory that due to the repurposing of some hospital facilities and access restrictions, the breastfeeding rates have been impacted, and also because of access control. So I think an important role that human milk banking has played during this time has been precisely around supporting babies that might have been orphaned because of COVID, or whose mothers themselves are in intensive care and therefore unable to breastfeed their own babies, or on medications which are contraindicated for lactation. And in that space, we found renewed purpose. Sadly, in the space of a pandemic, but it proved to be quite an essential aspect of expanding breastfeeding through awareness and human milk banking. And I hope we'll be able to recover as a country to the breastfeeding rates which we were able to show before the pandemic, and that we are becoming cognizant and aware of that as we go along. And we've now opened Philadelphia Hospital Breastmilk Bank, which we saw last couple of weeks ago. In fact, to date has fed nearly 100 very low birth weight infants. I think something that perhaps we can also look at, it's also the risk of necrotizing enterocolitis in the very low birth weight population. A lot of the times I think there is this misunderstanding with the people that are watching our work, mine, yours, and the work of our colleagues in breastfeeding, that think that we are fancy and we like something bohemian in our children's mouths, but they, I think, often do not realize how militantly pro-breastfeeding we are, because we understand its value as medicine, as a life-saving medicine, as what decreases infection, disease, mortality, morbidity. It's not just because we think it's nice to have breast milk in a baby's mouth, but it's a must-have if we're also going to then mitigate issues around malnutrition and stunting in children further on.
Well, you've just said a mouthful. Breastfeeding saves lives. And as I said, as a province, we are breast milk pro-breastfeeding, and we would like to encourage all our mothers to really breastfeed their children. You have also seen that we have also encouraged breastfeeding in the workplace. We have gone to a point where we open breast milk rooms for our workers in the province, and we have opened at least 3 of them in the province. You have been there when we launched most of them, and most of them, as I'm saying, the 3 that we have currently are working very well. We see most of our workers coming through to express, store their milk in our fridges, and at the end of the day, taking it home so that at least the caregivers will be able to feed their babies while they are at work. And we have encouraged them also at work to continuously express, store, and then express, so that at least when they go home, they are able to continue breastfeeding. In the era of COVID, you've seen that a lot of people have stayed home during lockdown, unable to visit most of our hospitals. Yes. But we've seen babies with necrotizing enterolitis coming through and surviving. In this hospital currently, we have fed quite a lot of babies. We have seen the infant mortality coming down, and we have seen that babies in this hospital survive and go home and end up with their mothers at home.
That's excellent, and that's exactly what we're working for. I was saying at the launch of the borehole that, you know, when they ask me often why we do this, you know, why save the most vulnerable, and I often think that you never know when you're feeding the next Nelson Mandela. You never know when the next change maker, when you save the life of the next change maker that will make that big difference in our country, but more importantly, because every life really does count, even the smallest, tiniest life that is fighting for a chance here is the potentially one of our future big leaders, and it is through compassion and sharing and also that spirit of sharing that is born from the sharing of breast milk, because we called it human milk banking. But this informal milk sharing is very cultural to all our African cultures, our European cultures. We used to all milk share because it really made us human and brought us all together.
You know, this morning I was just speaking to one of our workers who wanted to speak to me for about 5 minutes, and I said I will be coming back because I just have a meeting to attend. So when I went back to her office, she was then saying, I've got a sister who is pregnant, and I've got another one who's got a baby. Is there any possibility that the one who's got a baby, when this other pregnant woman gives birth, can we feed the breast milk to the other one? I said, yes, of course. You don't need to pasteurize it. No. It's your family member. So continue with the issues of breastfeeding. You will see that your baby. She said to me, I know how important breast milk is, and we are going to practice. I just wanted to find out do we need to pasteurize or not. And I said to her, no. You don't need to pasteurize. Just take the breast milk that comes from your other sister and give it to the baby, because she was saying to me, the pregnant woman is not going to breastfeed. But I said to her, if she doesn't breastfeed, because of the other woman who is already having a baby, who's having lots of milk, store it in a deep freezer soon as for 6 months. As soon as the other one is born, then you will defrost it and then give it to the baby, and that baby will grow very well.
And also, she has a lot of time to convince the mom that breastfeeding is the only option. Yeah. I think there is a lot of re-education that goes into supporting women that lactate. And I realized that, as now when we were looking at the situation with COVID and the reality that we're facing around access restrictions, and oftentimes, we live on a beautiful, large piece of land, and tertiary facilities can be far from the homes of moms. And it was in that moment that I realized that when a woman, for a variety of reasons, COVID being the primary one, is sent home not breastfeeding, that means that child will never have access to breast milk at all throughout its childhood, and that really limits that child's possibility to survive and thrive. Yes. And it's an important realization, I think, that we all have to make as healthcare professionals, that come in the next few months, and especially now that we're approaching World Breastfeeding Week. We have to reinvest in re-educating our healthcare forces in supporting breastfeeding, COVID or no COVID, But thank you so much for your time, Daddy. Any last words you want to leave us with that you think are important?
Yes, what I want to just say is I would like to thank the South African Breastmilk Reserve for the resources that they have shared with us as a province, the knowledge that they have shared with us as a province. We have gained so much by just being in a partnership with you, and we believe that we're still going to be opening more and more of our breast milk banks. This is only our second one that we have, but we will be moving forward to having more of our breast milk banks in the province. Thank you.
You're most welcome, and this is, you have been, just to make a point, the province of Limpopo has invested some of the biggest state-of-the-art funding into creating some really, really special spaces. I know that if you go around the country, and I often wonder what the minister thinks when he sees this bank and then he sees another bank, but you guys have invested in two of top breast milk banks. And in fact, the investment not only in the soft renovations and the equipment, but it also reflects in how prolific these freezers are. And at the moment, you are not only feeding these two hospitals, but if I am not mistaken, we are feeding four hospitals in the public sector and one in the private sector. Yes. So this is an investment that has stretched a lot further and beyond its monetary value to actually catch other facilities. But we were also really enjoyed cooperating with you guys. We've learned a lot. We're working with the Department of Health, has been a real learning curve, and the collaboration has been amazing for us on the learning level. What we learned is that against all odds, human milk banks thrive in the most rural settings, and where oftentimes some would argue that this is only something that can work in urban centers. What we learned is that come hell or high water, we can make a breast milk bank work in the most rural settings and in the most successful way. So thank you so much for your time, Daddy, today.
Thank you.
And I wish you a fantastic rest of your week. Thank you.